Welcome to this deep dive into the world of Quote DAH, a book that really challenges the way we think about wisdom and foolishness. It's packed with layered
Absolutely.
advice, from advising us not to be a fool to urging us to cultivate life knowledge.
Right. It's staggering how the book is structured. We've got the whole table of contents mapping out chapters like Don't Be a Fool, Wisdom, Wise Lesson Advice, and Cultivate Life Knowledge. It feels like each chapter is a building block for a better life, doesn't it?
Exactly. And if you look at the Don't Be a Fool chapter, it's not just about avoiding silly mistakes, but also about recognizing the consequences of laziness, deception, and even the cost of trusting the
I
wrong
can see that.
people. There's a verse, for example, that warns, being poor will get you closer to the devil, and being lazy will get you closer to being poor, which really sets the tone for the urgency of self-improvement.
That's right. And then there's this interesting twist of saying that glory can sometimes fool us into making short-sighted decisions. It's like the author is telling us that there's a shiny allure to immediate gratification, but wisdom lies in waiting for something far greater.
Absolutely. And, the recurring theme, a wise choice is surrounded by wisdom, really emphasizes how each decision should be made with an awareness of the consequences and the environment we operate in.
Yeah, that
It's
mantra
almost
really
like
hits
wisdom
home.
is both the foundation and the filter for making choices.
I agree. But I have a small challenge here. Don't you think at times the text seems to conflate wisdom with just knowing the right actions, instead of understanding the deeper emotional or, spiritual aspects?
That's a fair point. It does lean heavily on the pragmatic side. Actionable advice, almost like a manual for self-discipline. But then again, when we jump into the wisdom chapter, it expands into trading knowledge for experience. It explains that wisdom isn't just about planning, but also about learning through both success and failure, which kind of bridges that gap.
I get that. Yeah. In the wisdom chapter, the focus shifts to the trade-off between seizing opportunities and the risk of missing them. The author unpacks ideas like how our effort is accountable for truth and our ultimate reality. Really, it's about recognizing that every decision carries weight.
Exactly. And it underscores the idea that our knowledge has to be balanced by the practical steps we're willing to take. You see in one verse, it says, the trait of wisdom is also having the realization of an opportunity that can become your knowledge for the future. It's like turning every moment into a lesson
That's pretty
learned.
profound. Then moving on to the wise lesson advice chapter, things become even more dynamic, don't they? There's this almost rallying cry to overcome procrastination and laziness, and it points out that complaining before acting just deepens your own woes.
Yes, especially those verses that say something like, doing nothing is a job only for a fool, and your complaint is your sword. It's so vivid, almost like the advice is, put in the work or risk becoming the very person you warn against.
Yeah, and that definitely makes you think before making excuses. It's interesting how the author fuses physical analogies, like comparing the growth of laziness to a seed becoming a sin, with the concept of nurturing one's inner wisdom. There's a lyrical quality to it, even when it's dishing out hard truths.
Totally. And let's not forget the emphasis on willpower. In the Wise Lesson Advice chapter, there's a whole discussion about how our body is merely a vessel for the mind, and that the proper channeling of willpower fuels our growth. It's like saying our determination is the engine behind
Well
all
said.
progress.
And then in Cultivate Life Knowledge, the narrative shifts focus a bit. The author talks about cultivating yourself as an ongoing responsibility. The idea that you must actively seek improvement and not just sit idly waiting for opportunities.
Right on. There's that clear reject of the I can't mentality. The text practically asks, what's your excuse? And pushes you to see that even the smallest actions matter. It compares the effect of tiny insects waking a giant, or how a small habit can ignite a giant transformation.
Yeah, that's a neat analogy. Speaking of transformations, the book doesn't hold back on urging us to remain wary of external influences like jealousy or bad company. It advises, for instance, to surround yourself with those who uplift you, and also to keep your efforts discreet if needed, to avoid unwarranted backlash.
That's so true. And it goes even further by hinting at the idea that if you're too reliant on the wrong people, or even on your loved ones, you might end up stranded. For example, one verse warns, "Even your loved one would abandon you on the streets if they see you depend on them too much." It's a bit harsh, but drives the point home that independence is key.
It really makes you reflect on who you trust. And isn't that a recurring theme throughout quote DAH? Wisdom, self-reliance, and, the rejection of laziness all tie back to ensuring your future isn't dictated by either your own foolish mistakes or by the influence of misguided others.
Absolutely. Each section, chapter by chapter, layers in this message that success and a good life aren't handed to you. You have to build them with effort, awareness, and sometimes the courage to step away from what isn't working.
Definitely a call to action. I have to ask, though, do you think the book might be a bit too uncompromising in its tone? It's almost, confrontational at times, don't you think?
Well, it does push you hard. I mean, verses like, "Only a fool will tolerate the foolishness of a fool," leave little room for sugarcoating. It's as if the author wants to shake you awake. On one hand, that can be really motivating. On the other, it could feel a tad harsh for some readers.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. True. And while that intensity might not resonate with everyone, it certainly underlines how solemn the message is. The book isn't just reciting platitudes, it's exposing the gritty reality of, our daily struggles with making choices.
Exactly. And the mix of straightforward advice with metaphorical language, like comparing laziness to a seed that grows into sin, makes the lessons both memorable and, visceral.
Right, that kind of imagery sticks with you. And then there's the aspect of accountability, the reminder that every thought or inaction has a ripple effect. It tells you that your complaint might be your own undoing, and being passive is a luxury you can't really afford if you want to succeed.
Yep. And one of the most striking parts is how it marries wisdom with the idea of will. As the text states, willpower is power. And that's a powerful reminder that we need to harness our inner strength. It's like saying, the only barrier to success is you, unless you give yourself permission to overcome it.
That never gets old, right? And that theme continues by reinforcing that the future is shaped by actions taken today. It doesn't leave room for excuses, no matter how small they seem.
That's such a key point. The book consistently nudges you to act, to transform ideas into reality, whether it's in making a wise choice or cultivating life knowledge. And there's even a bit about time management, like stressing that delaying even in the small things might lead you into a cycle of complacency.
Absolutely, every minute counts. Circling back, I also noticed the book's emphasis on reputation and self-respect. It's like, if you let yourself slide into lazy or foolish habits, you risk not just your future success, but how you're perceived by others, which in turn can, restrict your opportunities.
Yes, indeed. One verse notes, "If you don't respect yourself, don't expect others to have any respect for you." This ties directly into the idea that self-awareness and self-discipline are non-negotiable if you want to lead a fulfilled and independent life.
Yeah, that's a classic truth. So, in summary, Quote DAH isn't just a book of quotations. It's a manifesto for living wisely and deliberately. It challenges you to avoid folly by embracing discipline, learning from each experience, and always staying true to your inner will.
Precisely, and it's structured in a way where each chapter builds on the previous, whether it's warning you not to be a fool, guiding you toward wisdom, offering practical advice on life's lessons, or pushing you to cultivate knowledge diligently.
It's like a roadmap to personal growth. I like how it interweaves literary flair with down-to-earth advice. Even when it gets a bit repetitive with its wise choice is surrounded by wisdom reminder, it almost feels like a mantra, something to refer back to every time you're in doubt.
Yeah, it can definitely work that way, like a rhythmic, almost hypnotic reinforcement of its core message. And while some of the language might come off as a bit old-fashioned or strict, it certainly embodies a timeless call for accountability.
Yeah, that repetitive mantra kind of cements the idea in your mind. As we wrap up, do you see any area where the book might leave room for deeper discussion or even further development?
Well, I think while the book is strong on directives and maxim in its approach, I do feel that it could benefit from including a bit more on the complexities of human emotion. It tends to lean on assertive statements. Don't be a fool. Do your work. But sometimes life is nuanced. A gentle exploration of vulnerability alongside wisdom could add another layer.
I can definitely see that nuance emerging. Exactly, because while discipline is key, understanding our vulnerabilities can actually empower us to better apply that discipline. It's almost like balancing the mind and the heart.
True, and that's a conversation that could be expanded in later works or even in discussions around this book. Nevertheless, Quote DAH stands out as a compelling collection of thought-provoking verses that urge us to be proactive, self-aware, and intellectually discerning.
Absolutely, it's a real call to arms for our inner wisdom. What I appreciate most is how it challenges the status quo by intertwining timeless wisdom with practical advice. It makes you ask yourself, am I living up to my potential? And are my choices truly wise? It's like an ongoing dialogue with yourself.
Yes, indeed. And despite its directness, there's warmth in its realistic take on life. It acknowledges our missteps, yet always propels you forward with the hope of transformation.
Yeah, that kind of tough love is powerful. This conversation really brings out the energetic spirit of Quote DAH, combining ancient wisdom, modern demands, and practical life lessons. It serves as a reminder that every choice, every small action, echoes in our future.
Couldn't have put it better myself. And remember, a wise choice truly is surrounded by wisdom. That's the heart of this work, urging us each day to look inward, rise above, and keep pushing forward.
Absolutely. Thanks for such an engaging discussion. I think this deep dive into Quote DAH really sparks the motivation to reflect on our own paths and maybe even take that next courageous step.
Indeed, and for anyone tuning in, let this be a nudge to revisit those verses, question your assumptions, and, most importantly, apply that wisdom in your daily life.
Well said. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and remember, the greatest choices are those made wisely.
Exactly. Stay wise and keep moving forward.